You're listening to the all-new Don and Mike Show reunion podcast from ExhibitCityNews.com. For 5.5 years, the Don and Mike Show was a podcast staple for the trade show, live event, and experiential marketing industries in today's world. Your hosts, as always, are Don Savela, owner and publisher of Exhibit City News in Las Vegas, and Mike Morrison, Vice President of Sales at WS Display. The reunion kicks off right after this short break.
Need a presenter? Your Event Audio has you covered. Closed-circuit audio equipment with turnkey operation at your trade show booth, live event, or private event. YourEventAudio.com is the place to go. DJ services, MC talent, and a whole lot more. Check out YourEventAudio.com today.
Okay, let's take her up here. All right, here we go. This is the front end for September the 6th in 3, 2, 1. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our third episode, believe it or not, of the Don and Mike Show reunion podcast. As you can tell, side by side, that obviously means that we're in the same place. And in this particular time, we are in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the world headquarters of Exhibit City News here on Desert Inn Road. Mike Morrison, VP of Sales, here on the Don and Mike Show. Of course, Don Savela, the owner and publisher of Exhibit City News and ExhibitCityNews.com, as we sit inside of a great air-conditioned office. Outside, it's a convection oven. It's the most unbelievable heat wave I think I've seen in some time, especially, Don, for a September. Normally by now, I would think things were cooling off, but that's not been the case this week particularly.
No, it has. Hello to all our followers, watchers, listeners out there. Yeah, it's a convection oven. It's a good way to say it, Mike. The only upside that we talk about here in Vegas is that at least we're not in Phoenix, where every day this week it's going to be above 110 degrees every single day.
See, that's just, I know we're in a desert. I'm not ignorant. I get that part. But it's September, and now you're supposed to kind of be on the decline. And when I wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, forget that I left a drink in the car, one of those Celsius power drinks, those sports drinks or whatever it's called, pick-me-up drink. And I go back down there, and it's between 4 and 5 a.m., and it's 90 degrees outside. That's the high today in Atlanta, even with humidity, and you can't breathe. That's just too much, dude.
It is. I've been living here 28 years. It's gradually getting worse, but, weather is unpredictable. Next thing you know, we might have an ice age.
I'll take Ice Age this week. It's a Thursday before we drop on Friday. And we got a great interview that's coming up on today's show. We have Marlena Sullivan, who is the new editor, was initially the digital editor here at Exhibit City News, is now the full-time editor of the publication. She's jumped in rather quickly and is going to talk to us a little bit today, a little deeper in the show, about the 30-year publications coming up, the fourth quarter, things that are changing here at Exhibit City News, and it's really fun to talk with her. I'm sure it's helping you a lot.
Yeah. She's fastly approaching a year with us, and we're so glad to have her, and I'm just so glad to have an excellent team that we've built over the years. So watch for some exciting stuff coming out of our announcements.
Absolutely, and we've mentioned this in the last couple of shows, but now that we're in September and it's creeping up, it's not creeping anymore, it's rapidly sprinting up to us, and that would be the Randy Smith Memorial Golf Classic. That's coming up on the 26th of September. That's a Thursday this year, and it's going to be an amazing event at Chateau Elan. And Don, I know that you and I will be there. That will be our next opportunity, actually, to get together again for the next show. We'll be doing it from there. Now, whether we're going to do that live or not, I'm still working on that. There's a possibility that we'll be making an announcement that we'll be doing that show live, probably on YouTube TV. I've got the connections now and the technology down, so we might be doing that for a period of time just before we go out. Now, it's one thing I saw is it's starting an hour earlier this year. The shotgun start, which has normally been at 12 noon and usually between 11 and 11:30, we take that photograph. Now it's starting at 11 a.m. shotgun start. So we got to get there at like the butt crack of dawn in order to do our side of the show. At least I will. And then get out there and play the game. But a lot of that has to do with the size of the flights we're doing, the number of golfers we've got. It's I'm sure going to be a sellout this year, and it's an event everyone's looking forward to.
Yeah, two different courses, and it's actually 3 weeks from today. That's coming close.
That's cutting it close. So yeah, if you haven't signed up by now, you might be signing up for dinner only. I'm not sure what the golf count is at this point, but I'm seeing a lot of press on that. Of course, Don and I will be there for the first time back with Don and Mike's show, even though we did have an exhibitor now there last year, and Don was on the show, a portion of that. And so we technically have not missed a Randy Smith since 2017. We've been at every one.
Yes, we have. We always look forward to it. And as you know, we have one of the recipients this year is one of our team, Lisa Abrams. So, we're just glad to be part of it. And we try to not have to have anyone, on the recipient list, but glad to know that there is such a thing.
Absolutely. It really, it's one of those bittersweet moments. It really is. I don't know, I'm getting choked up here because I just had pizza a little while ago. And it's not emotional. It's just Mike can't talk at his age. But it's a long day because you get there early. All the volunteers start working and setting up. We'll be setting up a tent and we'll have a table where we're interviewing people and recipients and everything. Then you go play the golf and you do the networking and everything that's involved there. Then you go for dinner, and then that you get into the videos and the speeches, the recipients, and it's a long day. And that's what kind of surprised me about it being on Thursday. I'm probably sure it had something to do with show schedules, maybe even availability of the course.
That's what they said was availability of the course.
So that makes sense because you have to have two courses in order to get this kind of crowd in. Not everywhere in Georgia has multiple courses. We used to play Berkeley Hills all the time, and then they sold and made it an 18 instead of a 27. That made it a little easier to do that there. But yeah, things will happen, and we'll make the best of it. September, it's a busy show season. A lot of things. I'm here in town for Printing United. That starts on Tuesday of next week, Tuesday through Thursday. That's a big show. Carries up the Central Hall and South Hall, fills up both of those. A lot of other shows here in town that maybe you could enlighten me on.
It's just going to be one after another, but the one biggie is the Mine Expo that comes every 3 years. So here again, we have something that was last year, right around COVID time. And when you guys go past the convention center and see all that huge equipment out there, they've been assembling some of that already for over 2 months.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. And just the face of Las Vegas changes seemingly monthly. Of course, you had F1 here for the first time just recently in the fall of this past year. The Fountain Blue is new, right across the street from where I'm staying at the Sahara and right near the convention center. All kinds of building, an implosion of Tropicana that's coming up next month. And then the A's coming to town for that. It's the ever-changing face of this town blows me away. And still, by far, no argument, this #1 trade show live event city in America, and continues to grow. It just baffles me.
Yeah.
So it's really good to be here, even in this convection oven that I'm sitting in. I hear it's great in here, but outside, not so much. It's pretty toasty out there. So I tell you what, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll have that discussion with Marlena Sullivan, who is the editor of Exhibit City News. Talk about a few things coming up here at Exhibit City News. We'll do that right after this.
From light boxes, towers, counters, and back walls to turnkey custom exhibits, WS Display is your partner in providing quality displays at extremely aggressive pricing to fit any reseller's budget. Make more profit by teaming up with WS. With a team of experts to assist with estimates, renderings, and CAD, to fulfillment, setup, and test fitting, quality photo proofs, and complete project handling from our East Coast, West Coast, and Pacific fulfillment facilities. We can be your partner today. Hit me up at mike@wsdisplay.com for more information.
Welcome back to Exhibit City News, the global office. Is that what we called it?
It's our world headquarters.
World headquarters. I had that phrase on the tip of my tongue the entire week, and because I haven't been here in a while, I have to repeat it over and over in my head. That's what happens when you get our age. Things like that do happen. But got a great guest joining us right now, who's obviously no stranger to Exhibit City News, as she is the editor of the publication for the digital and for everything at ECN these days. That's Marlena Sullivan, who's joining us now remotely from her home work office. And appreciate you, Marlena, taking a little bit of time to cut your busy schedule and talk with us for a few minutes for this week's Don and Mike Show Reunion podcast. Hope you're doing well today.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
So I'll let Don do a couple of questions to get us over the hump on how did you get to Vegas and to Exhibit City News?
Marlena, welcome to the show. It's been what, 9-10 months with ECN so far? You joined us right after you came back from getting your advanced degree in English in Scotland?
Yeah, in creative writing in Scotland. Yeah, it will be 12 months in November.
Time travels fast, but yeah, she was just promoted from digital editor to editor just recently, so we haven't really shared that news, but Don and Mike Show is always breaking news.
We will do that. We're going to break glassware or we're going to break news. We're going to do one or two of those things. Now, are you a native of the Vegas area?
Yeah. I went to Clark High School. I grew up in Las Vegas, and I got my bachelor's at the Ohio State University and then my master's at Glasgow University.
That is amazing when you're talking to a Buckeye and it always comes out the Ohio, because there is another Ohio University. Everybody knows that, especially from a football standpoint. When they're playing some lower echelon team, it's like, really, they're playing them? It's not the Ohio State. It's just a regular Ohio State. It's kind of like gas and unleaded and super unleaded. There's a difference between the two, apparently. So you started out as digital editor. You know, I'll ask this question because I'd like to hear your stance on the trend that digital has taken from a standpoint of traditional publications, where in our boomer people years, you know, it was always the book, and I'm still that guy. I like to have the book in hand. But your generation and younger tends to want to go to the digital world to get your news, your information, your entertainment. That continues to marvel me. And do you just think it's a trend, or is it that's the way it's going to be in the future? What are your thoughts on the transition between printed publication and digital? Because you're really a mixture of both. You do both. And that's still very important because there's still a lot of us out there apparently like the book, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that digital itself is the way of the future in a lot of different ways, regardless of what industry you're in. Having the world of information at your fingertips, having answers that you can just gather and find with a simple search, you know, those things make communication and also the source of like that vast wealth of knowledge very easy to come by. I would say, however, that when it comes to publication, actually, very surprisingly, while a lot of, you know, people say that print is dead, I have actually found that the people that like print, like the physical product, are way more likely to continue to support the physical product. So it's going to become less of a like a general thing, more of a luxury item, I feel like, as it continues going forward. Something that's a keepsake, something that is like timeless. People like collecting physical stuff a lot more, because if you have so much freedom of information in the digital realm, you want to keep close with the things that like matter. And I feel like, especially with Exhibit City News, our magazine has always kind of operated in a really nice place of being something that people like collecting. And so I think that while, you know, some publications and some print may be like, oh, it's dead, just the way of the digital, I actually think that, you know, there is a nice little niche that you can actually operate in that has both, as long as you understand that it is going to change of who is buying it, rather than for getting the information. It's more of a collector purpose.
That's a good point. And I gravitate on to my stay here in Vegas. I'm here for 10 nights for Printing United, also here on some client calls with a colleague. And the hotel I'm staying in the suite, there are coffee tables and there's print publications all over them. So now that may be indicative of the hospitality industry and with hotels and what they do to get their messages across, especially about Vegas, right? But I noticed that there also, to your point, was some collectionable, for lack of better words, I think I made that word up, books, publications. They're the table reading type of books that are still being published and put out there. So those are popular. But I think you're right. I think the information, and even myself, as a boomer at 61 years old, I go to my phone and I reach for it to get my information. And I think we're now being cross-trained or trained in some aspects that that's what we're going to have to go to. And of course, is the laptop or the iPad or whatever the tablet is of your choice that you're referring to in order to get your information or even your offers. I know at the hotel I'm staying at, there's many restaurants there. And when I got up this morning, there was a text message. It's like, click this link to make a reservation at this restaurant and get 50% off of a steak dinner tonight. For the cheap guy that I am, that's a pretty good way to get my attention because they know I'm on my phone. All that being said, I still agree with you. I think there's going to be a little while left for the print and this transition mindset of now I'm getting it to collect it as opposed to rely on it for my information. I think that's a very interesting point because I used to, like, if I go to, I've said this several times, you and I probably the same way, go to Walmart to go get a light bulb for a car, right? You're used to a book being there. And you reach for the book and you look and you thumb through, you find your model, you find your year, you find the serial number, and then you get your bulb, right? Well, you can also do that on a digital aspect. And some places have that, but it's a little costly too, right? Right. Could be. So I think that circling all the way back to your thoughts about the digital, I think you're right. I think you hit it right on the head. I think it'll be a very informational requirements for people to get it from there. Let's shift gears for a second. Talk about one of a couple of major projects that are going on here, and that's your 30th anniversary publication that's going on. What can you tell us so far about the ECN 30th publication that you're trying to put to bed at this point?
Yeah, well, talking about a keepsake, right? Our 30-year anniversary book is it's a lovely project that I've had the opportunity to work on. We are looking at creating a sort of timeless keepsake guide. This is going to both be a time capsule of the last 30 years of the industry, particularly from Exhibit City News's perspective, as well as a part training guide. When I say that, I don't mean it's going to be like a how-to guide of how to like go through the trade show industry in general, but it's more of something that someone could pick up and leaf through and get a really good insight of how the trade show industry functions, from our associations to the big companies to insight of how the trade show industry has changed, like from flooring and carpet and like modular systems from 30 years ago to now, technology. We are going to go over some of the big transitions of retirements and transitions of power in the industry, a list of the top trade shows, a list of the top convention centers, something that someone could pick up and hand to somebody else and be like, look at this. It's not everything, but it's a good overview of what our industry is about. And that was kind of the mindset that we went in when we went for the 30-year anniversary, because one of my favorite stories, actually, since I've been here, I was on a trade show floor, and it was my first time on a trade show floor, and someone, one of our clients came up to us and they were like, "Oh, you're the new editor." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the hi." And they were like, "Yes, I handed my daughter like 10 years worth of the issues and told her to read it when she first came into the industry. So you just must be so lucky that you have access to like all of the old editions and all this other stuff, because you can get so much insight and so much guidance on how the industry works." And he said that he gave those issues to her because he wanted her to get like a really good overview, right? It's not everything, but it's a good overview. And if you read those issues, he said, you could get some really good knowledge that she didn't have as a baseline. And with that in mind, that was kind of like that thought is what has led me in everything that I've made for a decision going for the 30-year anniversary. Because I just also used the magazine as a way to like understand the industry.
That's a good point. If you saw the spot that comes with the advertisement on the show about Exhibit City News, Don is sitting there talking and being interviewed, and he makes the mention that Exhibit City News has always been somewhat of the timekeeper of all of these events that have gone on for all of this time. And really, to be honest with you, the only publication, in my opinion, and several other people's opinion, that have kept up with all of this, all the way back to the newspaper days.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people forget that this was not a printed publication like a magazine. It was a newspaper when I started, as late as 2001 when I came in the industry.
Yeah, Don has a copy of his first issue that is like what 4 pages, I think, and it's really actually really cute. It's really small, and it's it's something you could just hand out to people because Don was doing it all himself back then, you know. So and it grew into a really large newspaper, and then now to what it is now.
She says that cute thing like it's a little puppy or something.
Well, when you compare it to the actual like full like newspaper, it's like really small, and it's only 4 pages, and then it became like this really big like full newspaper that you could see like getting out of a printing press. You know, it was just I think it's kind of cute, like the original one.
It's funny. I remember when I was at Octanorm, Exhibit City News used to sponsor at EDPA way before it was Access, this 1-minute commercial competition called the
Golden Ham Award.
Golden Ham Award. Thank you, because it's tough to get old and forget those things. And we won that Golden Ham Award, and I want to say it was probably my second year in the industry. It was 2002, and it was this pig on a stick. I mean, it was this huge pig. And we won it over a very disturbing 1-minute commercial that really eliminated the 1-minute commercial forever from EDPA from happening again.
The X-rated division.
The X-rated division was gone forever. And then they just did away with it. Now, and I don't think we'll ever see it come back. But I remember the picture of me and my colleagues holding that after we won it in that newspaper. So that was my introduction to that. I remember sailing down the Michigan River at TS2, Chicago River, when you spot Michigan Chicago River, Michigan Avenue, or that area. I knew there was a Michigan in there somewhere. Like I said, it's tough to get old, but that you sponsored. Exhibit City News has played a tremendous role in this industry for a long time, and a lot of people can speak intelligently about it. So you're really jumping into an interesting family.
Yes.
Here on Desert Inn Boulevard Drive Road, what's it called? Road. Okay, it's just road. All right. Yeah, you haven't upgraded yet to Avenue or whatever. Awesome. It's Marlena Sullivan, the editor here at Exhibit City News. We're going to take a quick break and come back and wrap this one up right after this.
My name is Donald Savela, and I'm publisher, founder of Exhibit City News.
Project 30 is the culmination of 3 decades of trade show and event history across North America and even internationally to a degree. We're charged with the history of the industry, and we take it very seriously. Our entire staff does. This is something we put out for our 20th anniversary. Then we put this book out for the 25th anniversary, and we're already talking, like 225 pages. So we're expecting Project 30 to be roughly around 300 pages of stuff that's important to the industry.
Well, what it means for the industry is the important thing, and we're the keeper of the history of the industry. It's like one big small town, and these are all the population from coast to coast and beyond, and no one else has recorded the history of the growth of the venues, from no venue to gigantic venues, from a labor force specialized in handling an exhibit program.
Great discussion with Marlena Sullivan, the editor of Exhibit City News, and a lot of stuff going on here, Don, that's coming up for ECN. You guys are on a tear right now. It's no secret. It's like somebody lit a fire under the publication. It's taken off. And HaHa's excited about it. That's Don's dog. Watchdog. Yeah, you saw. I think didn't you have him in your lap while you were recording? Yeah. So and that's, if you've ever watched Don and Mike or remember Don and Mike show, you'll hear that bark occasionally in some of the archives. Let's talk about this. We've had some meetings earlier, and so what we're going to do for the rest of this calendar year is very exciting to me, because it allows me to go back in our archives. First of all, we'll be doing the front end of each month, October, November, December, with the exception of September, because obviously the Randy Smith will be live there and doing that show from Chateau Lawn. But starting in October, we'll do a front end of the month, early in the month show between Don and myself, and we'll have guests come on. Then we will have since it's a reunion podcast, we're going to go back in time, and we're going to pull some of our favorite shows that we did over that 5.5-year period, and we're going to re-air them. I'll moderate them, talk a little bit about what was going on at that time, and then we'll just replay the show, do a brief introduction, play the show, and we'll do that for the second show of the month, October, November, December, and that'll carry us into 2025, which I'm excited about, because then we start a whole nother year again.
And not only that, but it has a really nice ring to it, sort of like rounded 2025. Just, I don't know, haven't had a year like that I like the way it sounded when it rolls off your lips.
Let me explain something. When you start saying that years sound really cool, you're getting way too old to do podcasts. It's the Don and Mike Show Reunion Podcast. Thanks for listening.